Hi, I'm Sydney Robertson,
And I'm Amy Kiernan.
and Reinventing the Algorithm is our invitation to you to reimagine work and life with intention, purpose, and a sense of freedom.
Together, we're going to explore what it means to show up as our true selves. And so, this is for anyone that's ready to create a more meaningful, fulfilling journey on your own terms. Okay, we're so excited to have you join us today. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us, Rachel Barbaro. And I'm going to read Rachel's bio because I think you'll see why we are so thrilled to have her on today's episode. Rachel helps leaders and teams thrive through coaching. She understands the real-world challenges leaders face, having spent 10 years leading high-performing marketing and communications teams. She's an ICF certified leadership coach and a certified Leadership Circle 360 practitioner, and she partners with leadership teams to foster individual growth and transform workplace culture. Her grounded expertise in team dynamics, communication, DEI, and leadership development creates a trusted space for meaningful change. Clients include leaders at LinkedIn, Teladoc, hospitals, law firms, and tech. And across industries, they report increased innovation, collaboration, confidence, and connection within themselves at the leadership table and across their organizations. So I love this bio, and I am so grateful that you're here, Rachel. I think me and Sydney are just thrilled to talk to you today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Yes.
Delighted to be here. Oh, it feels so good to have your bio read to you.
I know.
What is that? You told me about it. It's like it's not ChatGPT, but it's one of those AI things that you put in, and it creates a podcast about your
Yeah, it's Google's. It's LM Notebook.
LM Notebook.
Yeah.
Try it sometime.
You put in like your
resume
LinkedIn
or your bio,
profile.
and it creates a whole podcast about you.
Oh, it's a great confidence booster. Like
And
you can
that in
download.
itself, though, like that's pretty
Yes.
incredible.
It's so true. Thank you for reminding me of that. Like
Yeah.
I did that, and I remember I was listening to it, and it's like 12 minutes, and I was just there like listening to myself be talked about by these AI bots. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, I've done some cool stuff, but enough about me. So Rachel, do you want to tell us maybe your story? Because, you know, it's similar in a way to our own, to mine and to, you know, what Sydney and I have experienced. And we'd love to know, you know, your background and what brought you to becoming a coach.
Thank you, Amy. So excited to be here with you and Sydney today. So years ago, I had the privilege of leading big teams in marketing and communications. And there was a period for me after I had my second son where I found myself, my career was soaring, but I found myself in a real state of burnout, like managing motherhood and my team and leading. And I sought out the support of a coach years ago. And I noticed in that period in my life when I would be going to meetings and briefings and I would be in the room, I had a seat at the table, but when it came, you know, my time to speak about the marketing or the communications initiatives that were on my slide to speak to, I would speak to them and I would kind of feel like blank and like dull inside. But later on in the meeting, I would be tracking, you know, I worked in government. So a politician or a deputy minister or a stakeholder, whomever, would be talking and I would be noticing, oh, that person triggered that person. And, you know, he doesn't believe what he's saying. Or I would be noticing the team in the room dynamics. And in my body, like my body was sensing that and I was all lit up. So I was like coaching while I was still leading and the human dynamics and the way people were communicating and the DEI or the lack of DEI, like all these things were lighting up my sensors in my brain and my body. So I was like, something's going on here. So I reached out to an amazing coach out of California and I did a lot of personal development coaching. I did 6 months of 3 sessions a month, really intense coaching, and she was somatically trained. And throughout that process, throughout that deep dive into my discovery of who I was, what my purpose was, what my values were, you know, who I was, after we peeled off all the conditioning, I realized that what I was doing wasn't really lighting me up and that there was something else possible. And I wanted to be coaching. I wanted to be disrupting. I wanted to be transforming humans and culture and teams. And so had I not been in that state of burnout, had I not, you know, uncovered those sensations in myself and sought out that coach, I'd probably still be in that senior leadership role, you know, living like a B- life. But I'm not here for B-. I'm there for like A+ extraordinary.
Yes.
And, absolutely. I was unleashed doing that. It was extraordinary. And now it is such a privilege for me to be able to do that for my clients.
Oh my God, I love the way you said that.
And for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word unleashed, though, it's just got such momentum and power in that word, you know, and I'm fascinated to hear more about the somatic side of things because I have also experienced a lot of coaching and I think Sydney, you and I have talked about this. When you work in the corporate world and you are busy and you're running around and you're serving clients like we were for so many years, I remember making a joke. I still make a joke about how, in that Futurama episode where like the brains or the heads are like floating in the jars and they don't have bodies, like that was me. That was absolutely me. Like I would forget to pee, I would forget to eat, I would just be so all consumed with work. And so for me, one of the biggest changes that I made was in moving into a sense of bringing awareness and noticing to what was going on in my body, because the body doesn't tell stories, the body doesn't make assumptions, the body doesn't have a narrative in that sense. So I'd love to hear more about the somatic, training and maybe coaching that you've experienced for maybe somebody who doesn't understand maybe the distinctions between regular coaching and then somatic coaching.
Absolutely. So I'm trained in traditional coaching, so like mindset coaching, but I'm also trained in somatic coaching. And somatic comes from soma, the Greek word, the living body. So somatic coaching really takes into consideration the body's experiences as well as the cognitive mind. So, so many people are familiar with the book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? So like the body holds trauma, the body holds memory. But often, and my story was very similar to yours, Amy. I, as a female leader, and so many of the women I work with, whether they're entrepreneurs or leaders, are in cognitive overload. So they're like living from the neck up, completely detached from their body. And then at the end of the day, it's the glass of wine or the 3 glasses of wine or like eating something to get back into their body. And what was really interesting for me is I was coached somatically. The leadership coach I worked with was also trained in somatic coaching, was that there was pockets of inspiration, of memory, of creativity. There was also pockets of trauma and there was pockets of wounds that I hadn't even accessed because I was so living in the neck up. And I think when you're open to getting into your body and being coached in that holistic way, I mean, particularly for women, I think you really become unstoppable because creativity and intuition, it doesn't live in the mind.
Yeah.
It lives in the body, and confidence lives in the body.
I wanted to ask you about that action intuition because I've noticed that a lot recently. It's been coming up a lot in different conversations, just how intuition plays a huge role, even in the corporate world or in entrepreneurial world. People don't really understand the power because it's not like a business rigor or it's not like something you do in a spreadsheet. It truly is tapping in. So can you maybe expand a bit more on intuition and how that plays a role in the business world?
Absolutely. I think intuition, I think everybody has it. I think as women particularly, we get decision fatigue when we're detached from our intuition.
Right.
When a client comes to me and they're like, I'm indecisive or I can't decide what to do, they're typically so far stretched from their intuition and maybe the nervous system is dysregulated. And I mean, we all move through different states of the nervous system throughout the day, calm and collected, feeling good, feeling grounded, creative, fight, or freeze. Like we move through these 3 different states of the nervous system. But ideally you want to be able to access and regulate your nervous system to access your intuition. I think a lot of times we are operating within these boxes and we're operating within these rules, almost like it's like a board game that have been set out for us by our boss's boss or, a CEO or whomever. And we give away a lot of the control that we actually have and the creativity that we actually have, whether we're entrepreneurs or we're ICs or we're leaders. And intuition is really just your body's way of talking to you. It's your body's way of saying this lights you up, go green light. It's your body's way of saying, ooh, yellow light, red light, like asking your body, well, what do I need? And I think the more you access your intuition, I'll access my intuition in terms of my marriage or my parenting. I'll access my intuition before I get up to speak at a conference or I'm leading a strategic retreat. I'll also access my intuition. Do I want toast today or do I want eggs for breakfast? What does my body need?
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you build that elasticity and the intuition will talk to you more frequently. And I think with more messages and in a clearer voice.
I love that.
So
You know what that makes me think of as well is if we can tap into our intuition on a consistent basis and we can start to have a relationship almost with ourselves in that way, that is what will deepen self-trust. And I think that we can lose that, because we're so conditioned to operate in a certain way where it's like, you know, you live in your mind, right? Like you're constantly talking or pitching or, you know, 40 plus, way more really, hours a week that we spend in our jobs. And so, you know, to stop for a minute, like I think we start off maybe not even trusting that. And I think the more you do it and the more that you know, take that risk perhaps, right? Like take that risk to trust yourself. That's where it can grow and that's where it can come from. And I find that, you know, the somatic side of coaching for me is probably one of the most powerful because again, you don't have those maybe limiting beliefs or you don't have those stories that we tell. We all do it. Like we all tell ourselves stories about the world, right? Because we're trying to make sense of things.
Yeah.
But sometimes those stories are filtered through cognitive bias and errors and, you know, old experiences that we had where we didn't feel safe. And so we assume that there's a situation here where we don't feel safe. And so we're always telling these stories to try and like protect our amygdala is going crazy all the time. And it's like, settle down and just tune into the felt sense, you know, and that wisdom that you can get from your body. Like it almost seems fake, almost like, can it be this easy? Like, can it be this, you know, and not to say that it is easy because it takes a lot of practice, but like when you actually start to do it, it is easy.
It is. And it's like it's the greatest high. I mean, I'm many years sober and I know you are as
Yeah.
well. And like, it's the greatest high. Like it is
Yes.
truly, it's the most amazing high. And I think something that was key for me, and this is even recently, is that like cycles of limiting beliefs or unintegrated wounds or trauma, you know, it holds us back, but it's not about getting away from it. It's about integrating it. It's about like compassion. Okay, that experience or that moment or that habit I picked up from, you know, that ex-partner or that parent or that boss. It's about integrating it and compassion that limiting belief. It was just a survival mechanism. It
Yeah.
was just you doing the best you could. And now, oh my God, with curiosity, we get to uncover it, go underneath it and you know, integrate it and see who are you without that limiting thought and like what else is there. And I think you touched on something, Amy, that really lit me up in terms of like self-trust. And I think so many women I work with don't trust themselves.
I know.
They enter into the coaching engagement looking for something outside themselves within me. And my job as the coach is I just hold up this real gorgeous mirror and I'm
Yeah.
like, we're going to find it in you. I don't say that, but that's what I do
Yeah.
throughout the course of the engagement. And I think the self-trust piece, in my experience, having coached hundreds and hundreds of women in retreats and one-on-one and group, the self-trust piece really, it comes down to worth. And I think as women, we've been so conditioned, whether, you know, media and whether the workplace or family dynamics, to outsource our worth, to look for our worth and our trust from others to validate us, as opposed to it coming from within. And I think, I don't know about the both of you, you know, shifting out of corporate to entrepreneurship, I think you have to enter into entrepreneurship already worthy. You enter in as an entrepreneur, you're already enough. You're not seeking that worth or that external validation from the client's transformation or the sale or the pitch or whatever. You have to go in already enough. It takes a lot of courage to shift out of corporate.
Well, you talk a lot about creation, especially as a woman, right? So when you are an entrepreneur, you are literally creating your vision or your product. Like Amy and I talked about this today, right? It's exhausting. And but if you don't trust yourself or have belief in yourself, how can you create something out of nothing? Like really, right? So you have to have that foundation, like you said. You're not taking on a certain structure of a framework in a sales organization or whatever kind of organization. You're literally creating out of nothing. So I think you have, like you said, you have to have that sense of self-worth.
Totally.
Come into it and feel strong. It's like when you're having a child, right? You have to have a strong body for that womb to create that child.
Totally.
You gotta be strong within to create that company.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, you can layer on some woo-woo because we
love woo here.
love the woo-woo. But then when you layer on the woo-woo to the, and, you know, a lot of it is like laws of attraction and quantum physics, like the science backs it up. But when you layer that on, you're tapping into source energy. You're tapping into creation, right? That creation energy that for me transcends any religion, any church. Like you're tapping into something. Probably the ancients and indigenous communities can access it in a far better way than we can. And I think when you can tap into that as an entrepreneur, I mean, you're unstoppable. The well never runs dry, right?
There's something on that vein around divine feminine and feminine energy. So Amy and I have talked about this as well, like being able to receive income, for example. So when you're trying to create something, right, and you're selling, again, your product, your service, whatever else it is, as a woman, you have to have that healthy open womb, right, to be in receiving mindset too. Because if you're not going to sadly be successful, because you're going to be projecting off, right, rejecting the energy. But when you're in
100%.
that divine feminine where you're ready to receive, then you can, whether it's receiving a lovely contract or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? It's all part of it.
Oh my gosh, I would love to hear like what are some of your thoughts on that of the practices or like in terms of like yourself or women that you've worked with shifting out of, getting and that
Yeah.
scarcity to being in a space where you
Oh,
can,
it's so hard.
I can feel my body like
I
exhaling,
know.
like
I just felt it too. I felt
exhaling
like I
to receive.
dropped into my chair. I mean, I just had, like I was telling Sid, I had this bit of an awakening recently where, so I was at Twitter for nearly 11 years and Twitter X, and I left last year. And when you're in a role or a job or a company where you have been in that position for a long time, you create an identity perhaps, or maybe the identity is created around you, around competence and mastery. And you become very used to being the person that answers the questions, right? And so, this is what happened for me. And so when I left that environment and I went out and I started my own thing, I still had this connection or this desire to be wanting to be seen as competent and masterful. And it was really limiting me because I was afraid to put myself out into any situation where I wouldn't be competent or masterful. And because I was so connected to the point, to the identity or the ego or the safety perhaps of being competent. And so the awakening that I had recently was actually what's going to serve me more here is give myself permission to be new, right? To be able to be a beginner. I don't have to be an expert in all things, like bringing in a bit of self-compassion for myself and saying, yes, I was good at that. I did that for a long time. And maybe I will be good at this in time, but I need to give myself a chance to learn. And thankfully, I have such a strong value of learning and curiosity that I was able to tap into it and say, if I continue being this connected and rigidly tied to this idea of me being competent and masterful, it's going to limit me. It's going to cost me being a beginner. And what happens when you're a beginner is you receive, right? You receive wisdom, you receive learning, you receive all of that. And so when I made that switch in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, I can fuck this up. Like I can get this wrong. I can do this. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I actually I'm obsessed with Substack at the moment. And I put it out on Substack. I was like, I had the realization today that I actually don't know anything about anything.
And you're not attached to outcomes.
Yeah,
right?
I don't have a
When you don't attach
clue.
yourself to outcomes, like, you coach me through this as my friend and as my peer. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes because you get so focused. And we're so used to that, conditioned for that, right? In the
Totally.
corporate world where
Totally.
there is a quarterly, like there's a quarterly number you have to achieve, or there's KPIs, what have you, right?
Right.
You're
Yep.
always attached to outcomes. Your job depends on you being attached to outcomes.
Yes.
So when that's taken away from you,
Oh God, uncertainty is like the monster
oh
under my bed.
gosh.
Like
Yeah.
I have like a love-hate relationship with uncertainty because on the one hand, it's like uncertainty is terrifying and I need to know exactly what's going to happen in my life and then I will be safe. Or I can choose to look at uncertainty as, oh my God, my life is like a video game and it's so incredible. What's going to happen today? What's going to happen tomorrow? Oh my God, what am I going to discover?
I love that.
But it's hard. And it comes down to safety, really. And like the way you were saying earlier, Rachel, about the body and how we are always scanning and connecting to safety. What do you think about that? Just from your perspective as a leadership coach, as a somatic coach?
Yeah, I love something that Sid just said that like outcomes, like the annual performance review, like even that element, like what I love doing now is like going into a corporate space and being a little disruptor. And like we don't think about outcomes once a year or even twice a year. It's about like the coaching mindset as a leader and like bringing in, you're thinking about it weekly, you're thinking about it monthly.
We were talking about a sense of safety. And I think that can really be such a huge thing to consider, particularly, when you're considering somatic intelligence and you being, a trained coach in somatics. Like, what would you say about the people that you work with and their sense of safety and how it might impact them and how they move through the world?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge when I was getting ready to leave corporate to retrain in my 40s and then to like launch my business was feeling unsafe and feeling uncertain.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to source the safety from myself. And, as you said a minute ago, Amy, like the nervous system is always seeking, like, are we safe? Like, am I safe right now? Like, am I safe in this room? We are. And we can't discern whether we're being chased by a lion,
Yeah.
whether we just have an overloaded inbox and we have to get a go train, right? So like the nervous system is always sort of scanning. And then something else that I think is really interesting about the nervous system is that 80% of the communication in terms of the nervous system is the body to the mind through the vagus nerve. It's not the brain to the body, it's the body to the mind. So it's an act of self-awareness. It's an act of curiosity. It's inquiry. Like, what does the body need? What is the body trying to tell me? And I think had I not been able on a personal level to source my sense of safety from myself, I would still be getting it from my children. I would still be seeking it from my husband, who are wonderful humans, but it's not their job to keep me safe.
They're not the source.
Right? Or my signature in my email.
Or your title. Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
And it's the ego, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think I was so ego driven for so long, and that's okay. I was so ego
That's
driven.
how you got your sense of safety back then, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
And like, damn, I did a lot of cool stuff, and
Yeah.
like, I achieved some stuff, and I climbed to a pretty senior role. And at the end of the day, I realized that there became this shift. It was like my higher self, my intuition, my purpose, and the ego. Like, which one was going to win?
Yeah.
And finally, I didn't like hide from the ego or like put it in the corner. I opened my arms up and like with like a blanket or a shawl, I wrapped the ego, and I was like, okay, it's okay, and we're gonna fucking go. And we're gonna do something different. And like,
And I've
don't
got
need to
you.
lead.
I've got you. Yeah. I just got that from just the way you said wrap the blanket. It was so beautiful. Oh, God. We all need to do that with our egos. Get the blankets out. Beautiful. Oh. So for somebody who hasn't been coached or maybe has never experienced coaching, what kind of, what, and I don't want to say advice because you're going to laugh at me because you're a trained coach as well, but like, because coaches don't give advice, but what would you say perhaps to somebody that is, maybe stumbling on this work, feels that sense of, there's something missing, maybe there's a fulfillment thing or whatever it might be. There might be burnout like you in your experience.
Yeah.
What would you say to them in terms of starting to discover or perhaps become curious about the body's wisdom and how that might impact them in their lives?
Yeah, I think a couple things. Begin to scale and rate for yourself how you're feeling in terms of whether your challenge is overwhelm or anxiety or exhaustion. Just beginning to scale it. Like, how are you on a Sunday morning versus a Monday morning or like on a Wednesday? Like, just beginning to scale it. And I cannot recommend coaching enough. I would not be sitting here today running the business, having coached as many people as I have, if I had it myself, been coached so many years ago and realized that like everything I'm seeking outside of myself, it's already in me.
Yeah.
It's already within me. I just need to peel off the conditioning, peel off the limiting beliefs, and start to play. And I love how Amy, you always use the word play. Like,
Yes, I love play. Like it's literally
idea
how
of
I need to
play.
be. Yeah.
and it's permission to fail. It's permission to fail. I gave myself permission to fail.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, I would figure something else out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to give ourselves a sense, especially if we're shifting into running our own business or entrepreneurship or stepping into a bigger presence, even in a corporate environment, we need to give ourselves a sense of safety and permission to fail.
And to mess up. You made me think of conditional work or conditions of worth, I should say. So, conditions of worth.
Okay.
Yeah. What that means is I will be worthy when I've got this, when I've been promoted, when I earn this much money, when I get married, when I buy a house, when I'm as senior as the person that I've always admired, get that promotion, then I'll be worthy. And that's it's the conditions of worth that we place on ourselves. And so as you were describing this, it started to, I suppose, become clear, like that you had detached from that complete, like your worth is not conditional. Your worth is unconditional, and it is always there, and it is always inside you. And the work of your life is to access it and actually not create it, but remember it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so interesting.
Remember it, reclaim it, and help others do the same. Right?
And help others do the same. So like when you talk about your coaching and it's so clear to see your passion and just how much it, moves you. And, so it sounds like coaching is really the way that you express your purpose into the world. Would that be, am I on the right track there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's how I express my purpose and how, I help others transform. And I think the thing that I love about coaching is that there's such an element of curiosity.
Mm.
We create this safe space. Like there's therapy, there's consulting, and then there's coaching. So coaching sort of borrows from both of those modalities. There's elements of it that are therapeutic, some are consultative. It's all in confidence, but there's such an element of presence, awareness, self-awareness, communication, and curiosity with coaching that it's just so delicious. I
Oh,
love it. I love every session, even like sessions where I go and I was like, this is going to be a hard session. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen at the end. So, and I mean, the gift of being a coach, I think, is that you realize with absolute certainty that your work on yourself is never done.
no.
Like your work on yourself continues. What do you enjoy about it, Amy?
Oh, well, so I have this buzzword that like I feel like is given to me from the universe that whenever I think about my purpose, the word is possibility. So that word to me is just sacred almost, because I feel like coaching is supporting somebody to discover what's possible and to almost create possibility where before there was none. And so the privilege of being able to sit with somebody who had maybe up to that point in their lives been, working a certain way, living a certain way, feeling a certain way, and wanting a change, right? Because people come to coaching just because they want the transformation. They want to change something about their circumstance or their life. And being the witness, the guide, the partner to somebody realizing that there is possibility where before there was none is unbelievably magical. Yeah.
I think my word would be, well, it is becoming.
Oh,
So, and I always like
love that.
have the vision of like a butterfly, and it's becoming without conditions, like you said earlier, right? And it's checks and balances. I have my moments, I have my days, my little wobbles, as we call them.
Yes, me
But
too.
I think it's just like evolving and knowing that you're never complete, right? You're constantly evolving and becoming. So with that, and I just feel like right now I have the freedom of becoming, right? Not
Yeah, that feels very permissive, actually. When you say
Yeah.
it like that, it's like it's becoming and you're giving yourself permission to become.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like the wooden like Russian dolls that like just never end, right? You just keep going.
Exactly.
I often use the metaphor when I'm coaching a group of women. I'll use the metaphor of like the butterfly, and like we're in these 3 different stages. Are we in the caterpillar, the cocoon, or the butterfly? And like each one of those stages has their stage of metamorphosis. Like I think of my own life, like after a big trip or a big event or something, like I cocoon a little bit. Like I kind of go in. I'm not posting on social media every day. I'm not out and about. I'm like I kind of go in, and then the
You
butterfly
could
comes out.
before
Right?
you blossom and
Right?
fly again. Yeah.
And you think about
You
the
need
female.
it.
Yeah, you think about the female cycle, the
Yeah.
stages of life. Like it's so relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. So true. And also back to the intuition you talked about earlier is to tap into your body and know when you need that, right? And not push through like we're so usually conditioned to do. It's like, I'm tired, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going here, as opposed to saying, you know what, I do need a few cocoon days to just,
Yeah.
process something or just, just take some time to just rest or get some extra sleep or just quiet time.
Totally. Or even like, this is going to be a cocoon night for me, or a cocoon morning, like that intentionality around it. Like, I'm going to take this.
You were at our Bond to Bloom event back in April, and it was a beautiful evening. We had roundtable discussions, and I'm forgetting what you said, but it did stick with me when you were talking about when you're home at night with your husband and your kids,
Yeah.
and it was like was it receiving rest, or you said some word that was so poignant, and I know I'm not remembering it properly now, but it stuck with me that you were almost like giving yourself permission to rest or something like that.
Receiving rest. I don't
Receiving
think, I think as women, we often we're like, oh, we're so tired, or like we're lacking joy or passion. And I'll sometimes do a workshop or a talk around the idea that you actually create the conditions for joy in your life. You have to create the conditions for joy, and then joy will find you. But it takes intentionality and commitment to create those conditions, and everybody's different. And I think in terms of rest, you have to receive it. You don't go get it.
Yes.
You receive it. You block out the noise. For some people, it's like you put away the phone, take off your bra, put on your sweats, like whatever it is. You can also receive rest in a fancy way at like a spa or something, but it's about receiving it, not telling yourself, I am now in rest. It's the energy of like receiving, not going to get it. You're just receiving it. And then
The passive versus an active.
yeah. And then it's always there. You can always access it. and your system learns how to access that deep level of rest. Like I think of like after I did work on myself, after I was somatically coached so many years ago, my PMS symptoms completely went away. Nothing. My sleep deepened. My dreams got beautiful and so much more vivid because I was actually like receiving rest. My body wasn't like holding, and to that point you said a minute ago, Sid, like pushing through. My body wasn't in a state of constantly pushing through. I could receive rest.
You didn't have to earn it.
Conditions.
Journey. I love that. It's so true. But say in the examples you used of like getting into your PJs, being at home, how would you recommend for someone who is literally on the go? So they're traveling a lot and they're in a kind of fight or flight mindset. How then, when they don't have the opportunity to receive rest in a very comfortable way, what are some things they can do to, like, say they're about to go on stage, for example, and they're really stressed about that, or they're about to do a big pitch in a boardroom, or they're, just about to have to make a big decision. What are some things that people can do to get into that mindset?
That's such a good question. I love it. I have so many ideas. I think a couple of them, like I'll tell you, even last night, I didn't sleep well. One of my kids was up in the night. So on the Uber here, I listened to like one of my favorite songs. It's a Pink song. It's like my power up song. Like it literally just like I can feel the energy.
Which
move
Pink
in my
song?
body. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh,
We'll put it in the show notes.
oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have
I
like
can sing all the Pink songs for you if you want, and then you can just like pick which one it is. No, I'm joking.
but like
We don't have time for that.
I think music is wonderful. Like having a song that cues you to like power up and like really get into your body and start to like tap into your creativity.
Your ring walk song.
Totally.
Have you heard of that before? The ring walk song? You know, like if you were a boxer and you were like, and you were walking towards, the ring, and you were about to like go into the ring and have your fight. So they all have ring walks because they know that
the walk up song too.
Yeah.
At the Awesome Power event, we had that. We actually had Spotify.
I
was
think
our
it's
sponsor, and everyone
amazing.
all the speakers had to have their walk up song.
Oh
'cause
my God.
It's an
my
energy
walk-up
giver.
song,
right?
for sure.
It's an energy giver, right? I totally have that too. My one changes, but my one, it's so funny actually. So have you seen the movie Madagascar?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. So Will.i.am has this song, I like to move it. I like to move it. That's my one. That's my song because, and it changes. Like it definitely changes depending on what mood I'm in. But my song, that's my song because I dance with my son to that song, and it reminds me who I am. They're like the core of me, So yeah.
Ooh. And he's an expression of that, right?
Yes.
He's a piece of you walking into the world, of your heart walking into the world.
Oh my God, Rachel. I love that. Be right back. I'm just going to go cry in the corner. No, I love that. He's an expression of me.
He is, 100%. And then they leave, and then you're like, wow, they're out in the world.
Oh, yes. Your heart is walking around outside your body. That's what they say about parenting, motherhood.
100%. 100%. Again, giving up control and vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Being in that state. I had so many more suggestions come in for that great prompt, Sydney. Thank you. So I think music, like accessing music to like get into your energy and move. And that song you don't always listen to, I suppose you're, the moment you're going to get on stage or when you're in an Uber, that's a song maybe you listen to when you're doing your makeup. That's a song you listen to when you're leaving like a great workout class, you're moving at home, just putting on music and dancing. So like my system now knows that song is like power up, get into your body. Like my system has an association with that song.
The neural pathways or whatever. Yeah.
I think accessing the breath, and like it doesn't need to be an app, it doesn't even need to be formal breath work, but like bringing the breath into the belly, like not holding in your stomach, but like bringing the breath into the body is a really great way to do it. Something I'm a huge fan of is in the morning, no phone the first 30 minutes after waking. I think we can often dysregulate ourselves and like lose that connection with our intuition and start to give out our trust and our worth to others. So just having a little chunk of time in the morning where you just putter, you just regulate, you just slowly make that.
What a
cup of
great
tea.
word. Putter.
Right? Like I think those are all really helpful things that you can access not being at home and just lying down, even if it's a I was gonna say hospital bed, dreadful, a hotel bedroom. Even if you're just lying in a hotel bedroom and you're on a business trip, like one hand on heart, one hand on belly, and just lying there for 10 minutes and just breathing, just feeling the weight of your body being held by the bed, being held by the earth, and just breathing, just taking that time to do that. It changes the course of your day. It changes the course of your nervous system. And for me, having those different tools that I can pull out, when I need them, because life is busy. It changes the course of your life when you start to string them together and you build all those tools in your toolkit.
Yeah. Oh, they're really powerful. We should put those in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
That's a really good one. I remember, so I did an interview with a sports psychologist. She's also a coach. She was one of my lecturers in the master's program that I've just done. And I interviewed her for my thesis on confidence. And she's an expert in performance because, she's actually an equestrian sports coach. So she coaches like very, very high level equestrian athletes. And she talked about how, and I'd love to get your take on this. There is a way that you are when you are performing, whether that's speaking on stage, whether that's going out and doing a performance from an athletics perspective, where you have an ideal zone of activation in your nervous system. So what you don't want is to be in the panic zone where you're like freaking out, you're watching everyone to see them watching you, like you're just, you've really you're overactivated. But then what you don't want is you don't want your nervous system to be totally dead either and just like, like you're asleep. You want a gentle activation. And what I found so interesting about that was it reframes anxiety into potential excitement. And so, for me, there's something there when I'm feeling nervous. I ask myself, like, could this also be excitement? Like, could I be excited about this? Is it possible? And going back to that word possibility, is that something I can bring in? What if this was exciting? What if this was, So I just love your thoughts on that. Like, because I know that I definitely in the past, before I maybe knew anything about somatic coaching, I thought that like the ideal would be to be at that like rest state fully. But actually having a bit of an activated nervous system is pretty good too.
Absolutely, because it awakens your senses a little bit, right? And it gives you that little, like, that jolt, that sort of boost. I would completely agree with that. And I think knowing yourself, and this is where that coaching, that element of self-inquiry is so important. So knowing yourself, like, I know when I'm about to lead a big workshop or get up on a stage, I know that I have a lot of energy. So it's like, zing, I can start to feel it. And sometimes it can present it as anxiety. So it's like, being aware of that, being aware of what your patterns are and your conditions are. So that day, for example, I may have no caffeine or like very limited caffeine. Like I support the body because I'm already, fairly high energy, and just being aware of what works for you and how anxiety or how energy moves for you in your body. And I think sometimes when we feel like we're down or we're feeling low energy or we're feeling tired, we can actually just be numbed or checked out. We're just numbed and we're checked out. Like we're not even there. So I think, practices of like feeling your feet on the floor, the sensation of like the water in your mouth or the sip of the tea or the feeling of your clothes. It's like getting back into your body. The somatic practices I think are so key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea of the prime state that you want to be in for those experiences. And the whole point is, don't save it for when you have the 4th job interview. Don't save it when you're getting up to like speak in front of 100 people or 1,000 people. You begin to practice it daily. So your body gets accustomed to it.
Natural.
And it's not scary. You feel safe, right? Because you build the familiarity.
Right.
And then when you have the familiarity, your body's like, oh, this is cool. My amygdala's chill.
Yeah.
So do you want to move into your section, Sid, where you always ask the 3 questions? Yes.
So rich.
And actually, before we even do you want to maybe tell Rachel why the number 3 is so significant for you? Because I feel like we should say that.
Well, yeah, I feel like numbers, like so if you're in the woo or otherwise, like numbers are just so intrinsic in how we proceed. And I just feel for me, like everything I do comes back to 3 for some reason. Like I'm March 3rd, so 3-3. When we came up with the name of our new company, it was on my birthday, and we were staying in the hotel room 333. So just like a lot of just connections back, they all come back to literal creation and birth. So yeah, for me, and I also find that we had a wonderful leader at Twitter, Melissa Barnes, who she was really like, I call them Melissa Barnes School of Business. She was always really good at like keeping things succinct. And she'd mentioned just you want to always have things in 3s when you're trying to be impactful on stage even. So everything, it just makes things easy to remember, and I feel it makes them more impactful. So that's my connection to 3.
Yes.
And on that note, we like to end our podcast with just a few questions. So for you, if you could share 3 things, people, places that inspire you.
Oh my gosh. 3 people, places, and
Yeah, no
getting
pressure. You get to
smelly.
pick whatever it is, but things that just have inspired you, impacted your life, and made you who you are today.
Oh my gosh. I think one, all my teachers, all my wise women who have coached me, who have guided me. Like, I think those people have held up the torchlight for me. They've held up the candle for me when I was like, oh, this is impossible. They've showed me possibility. So many women in my life, like the first coach I had, different therapists, like even mentors, like just they're the ones who like held light for me and held the mirror up for me when I couldn't see it for myself. Um, my kids, big time, because they trigger the shit out of me and they show me where I need to grow and they bring up all my stuff. And they also give me a ton of courage to keep going and to live a bigger and brighter and more extraordinary life. So I look at my kids and like they definitely light me up. Um, and Barbados really inspires me. My husband grew up in Etobicoke and also on the island of Barbados. And so we lived there for a month on one of my mat leaves with all my boys. And it's just an extraordinary, extraordinary island with so much feminine energy. And we have so many good friends there. And it's like my special place that we go to ideally once or twice a year and just recharge. So those things. And I'm going to add one more.
Oh,
If I'm
please.
allowed to do that.
Oh my God,
Always
please.
bonus.
Yes,
Yeah,
bonus.
I
Bonus
think
inspiration.
I think meditation. I've had a daily meditation practice for over a decade, and I think the ability to sit in quiet, even for 2 minutes, doesn't have to be 20 minutes every day. It lets me access my inner wisdom, work through cycles or wounds or blocks or stuff that's coming up for me. So I think the courage to protect time every day, to sit, whether it's when you wake up or before you go to bed at night, just to sit in silence. I think that inspires me and really resets and recharges me.
Oh,
I love that.
yeah, that's beautiful. So much of what you say, I think, demonstrates the power of awareness, right? It's just, of just noticing. And that's something that we all can do. It's very actionable, very easy. It's just take a beat, notice what's going on. What do you, I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes I will literally do this, like where I'll notice something and I'll be like, oh, I haven't breathed in a while. I'm not
holding
breathing
your
right
breath.
now.
You're holding.
Yeah, I'm not breathing right now. And it's just, and then like everything expands and then possibility comes in, It's just so funny. Everything comes back to awareness. I don't know if you did I can't remember where you did your coach training, but when I did mine in Adler, in Toronto, and this was taken from the book by Timothy Galway, who wrote The Inner Game, which is a great book. There's an inner game of work. There's an inner game of, well, he talks about tennis. He was a tennis coach, but he talks about awareness, choice, and trust. Those are the 3 things, and awareness is foundational. It's the number 1 thing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. It has been such a pleasure. I love hearing about your coaching practice, your specialty with somatic training as well. I think it's just so interesting. And I also think it's very popular at the moment. I think people are really realizing the power of, tapping into, I say tapping funnily because I just discovered ETF, like tapping. So maybe we'll do another episode on that. But just the power of noticing and the power of the body and the felt sense. And it's just been a pleasure to learn more about that today.
Oh my
And we'll
God.
add obviously all your information in the show notes. But if there's something else you want to share, like if you have any upcoming workshops or any kind of initiatives.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, the coaching and somatic coaching, it shifts you from really living in black and white to technicolor. That full felt sense, right? Full awareness, the fullness of the human experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, the wondrous, all of it. It's about expanding. Love you used that word a minute ago. I do have an upcoming women's group running this summer. It's called Empowerment Club, and it's a 4-month journey that I run a few times a year for a small group of women. And it's really a somatic coaching journey, a mindset journey for women who want to step into new levels of confidence and lead professionally and in their personal lives. So I have that coming up.
Nice. We'll put a link
Add
into
it into
that.
the show notes for sure, and I will hopefully be there.
Amazing. Love to have you. This was so amazing. So energized being with both of you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We can't wait to have you on this ride with us. And if you like this podcast, don't forget to rate us and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.